It's okay. It's okay, really, because I mean, I won't press it.
This meeting to order of Okeechobee City Council. Today's date is June the 2nd, 2020. Time is 6 p.m. As I have done at the last few meetings, I'd like to welcome those who have joined us via Zoom. And I will remind you, if you would like to make a comment at any time, if you would just use the raise your hand icon, or if you would just type in your comment and chat. Host here at City Hall will let us know that you would like to make a comment or that you have a comment. But thank you for joining in with us, and I think that's a great way for us to conduct our meetings. I will offer the invocation this evening. The pledge will be led by Councilmember Clark. If you're able, please rise. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight with thankful hearts, thankful for the blessings you allow us to enjoy. But as we come together tonight, we have many cares, concerns, and we know that you can meet each of those. We pray for everyone who has been affected by the virus, those who are ill, and others who are ministering to them. We just pray that you would be with them, give them healing, strength, and comfort. We know that we're in a period of unrest in our country, and we pray that you would be with our country, the leaders of our country, guide and direct them. May we all have peace and understanding. We appreciate those in our community who are exercising their constitutional right to demonstrate, and we appreciate them. We especially appreciate the peaceful manner in which they're conducted. So we just pray that each of us would have understanding and that each of us would learn to respect each other. As we come together tonight, we just pray for your guidance and direction. We thank you for this city, and we just pray that the decisions we make will be in the best interest of the citizens of this city. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please take attendance.
Mayor Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Abney.
Here.
Councilmember Clark. Here. Councilmember Gerald.
Here.
Councilmember Key.
Here.
Attorney Pinero.
Here.
Administrator Montiero.
Here.
Police Chief Peterson.
Here.
Fire Chief Smith. Public Works Director Allen.
Here.
Executive Assistant Wallenbach.
Here.
Finance Director Andrew Lee.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will first ask for requests for the addition, deferral, or withdrawal of items on tonight's agenda. First, if you will remove item E from your agenda. You will remove that item from your agenda. It was postponed from the last agenda, and we're removing it from the agenda. If you will add under new business item I, you were given a packet at your place, item I, which will be a motion to approve an extension of landscape maintenance contract. If you will add that under item I. Any others? Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda? So we have a motion by Council Member Gerald to adopt the agenda. We have a second. Second by Council Member Abney. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any public comment cards for public comment? No public comment cards. And I'll remind those on Zoom when we are discussing an item on the agenda. If you would like to comment, just use the raise your hand icon or put your comment in chat. Next, we'll go to proclamation presentations. We have a very special presentation tonight. Police chief, I think you're going to join me, and Teresa. Yes, we have to kind of stand apart, is that right? Police chief, please.
First, I'd like to point out that not only is this a 35-year award, this is her final award, because Teresa retired at the end of this year. And to put this in perspective, Teresa dispatched in 3 different buildings. The old police department, which was above the fire department, this one, and the new EOC. We have 2 employees, one with 12-year experience and one with 13 years experience. Both of them started in dispatch and spent 5 years dispatching. Teresa had a great part in training them. They then went to the police academy and had 7 and 8 years respectively on the road. Both of them are sergeants. Neither one of them were born when Teresa started at the city. I don't mean that as a derogatory. I mean that as a compliment. That should actually read a Lifetime Achievement Award, because she's certainly done that. The police department, any building is just 4 walls, concrete, steel, but it's the people inside that give it soul and character. We've certainly done that. I've got a few more stories.
And I'm telling you, I have to tell this story on Teresa. I just have to, just to show you what courage she has. You know, she's a city employee, and here I am. At that time, I was just a council member. And when the police department was upstairs, I don't know if you remember this story or not. The police department was upstairs in the fire department. I came in, Chief Motley was the chief then. I came in to see Chief Motley. I come in the door. She's at the reception desk there. And I said, I would like to see Chief Motley. She looks at me. She said, okay, just go right through that door right there. Well, I knew that wasn't the door into the police department, but I thought, well, maybe they've rearranged something. It was the door into the bathroom. She said, just go right in that door right there. So we did get you back with that.
I still have the letter.
Yeah, police, we wrote a letter of reprimand for her. Chief Motley was very kind to be in on the gag, and we wrote a letter of reprimand. It wasn't serious. But anyway, so that's the kind of courage that she had with the city court.
It was little me.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Little you. Yeah.
Don't let her fool you with that.
Yeah. You're right.
She tried that on us. She made the mistake of actually admitting that one of her relatives on her mother's side, his name is Proctor, it's actually on Wikipedia, was hanged in the 1600s as being a witch in Salem.
Really?
So we know.
Don't mess it over. We have a certificate for you, a longevity service certificate presented to Teresa Garcia in recognition of 35 years of service, hard work, and dedication to the city, its citizens, and your fellow employees from June 7th, 1985 through June 7th, 2020. And then the second day of June. Congratulations, Teresa. And there's a little something else, too. You might want to keep that in there. Yeah. And you can certainly address the council if you like.
And we would simple, I just want to say thank you. I've enjoyed it. That's hard to believe it. It was long. So I look in the mirror and see my gray hair. And yeah, that's very good. But I think India gave it to me.
Lisa, before you do, I think we want a picture.
Yes, Mom.
Robin's will take a picture. He wants to kind of stand apart so we don't. Tiffany's here, so we better stand apart. No, Tiffany's here, so we better stand apart a little bit. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much. For 35 years, that's a long time. We'll move on with our agenda. The next item is the consent agenda. We only have one item, approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion. We have a motion by Councilmember Keith. Do we have a second? second by Councilmember Clark. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. We'll move on to new business. The first item under new business is an update from the Florida Department of Health, Okeechobee County, regarding the COVID-19. Tiffany, welcome, Tiffany. It's good to see you in person. We've been doing this through Zoom, so it's nice to see you in person.
We love our new Zoom technology. I used to be a pro at it. I really like it. Maybe some good will come out of all of this. We'll learn some new technology to be able to share when we need it. So some updates from the Department of Health. The newest executive order since we talked last is executive order from the governor 2131 that extends what he's calling his full phase one that allows the youth activities to expand. Of course, we're still all embracing our social distancing, the 6 feet apart, limiting our large congregations of individuals within our communities, limiting groups of 10, no more than 10. We'll continue our infection control prevention messaging. That's the hand hygiene, wearing the mask. For those of us that are well, we're using the cloth mask. Otherwise, we're using the surgical mask of our medical providers has told us, or we're in the healthcare field. The hand hygiene, cleaning. Frequently, I saw we just cleaned this since we, have been touching it. That's all great. Frequently touched areas as much as we can. Continuing that the best we can. Focusing on the spread of the community is Department of Health's role. We've been doing lots of work to expand testing in our community, focusing on our vulnerable population and expanding what those vulnerable populations are based on guidance. As far as updating the numbers for the dashboard with Florida, cases for COVID, we're up to 57,477. Number of deaths is up to 2,530. That's a 4.4% death rate. Number of ever hospitalized with COVID-19 is 10,412. In Okeechobee, we're up to 85 cases. 0 deaths still in Okeechobee County. That's a bubble I'd like to make sure we stay in as long as possible. As we know, all around us there's deaths for COVID-19 cases. We've tested 1,793. Yes, that is testing the nursing home twice. The second round of tests was negative in both the nursing home, and that was clients and staff, as well as in Grand Oaks, all clients and staff. Of course, 1,708 of those tests were negative. Those are ages in our community of 6 years of age to 87 years of age. At the moment, that's a 50-50 split between females and males. We do have a bit of an outbreak out at the DJJ facility. It makes up about 20.5% of those cases. I just warn you, I've heard some reporting both from the county and from our local newspaper. We just got to be real careful when you look at data. When non-DOH sources report out data, when there's outbreaks, those aren't always just Okeechobee residents. So just be real careful when you hear different sources, especially non-DOH sources, reporting out how many cases are related to the outbreak. They aren't necessarily just Okeechobee residents. So when they say, oh, there's such and such number of outbreaks out there, it makes up a third of Okeechobee cases, that is not true. That is not accurate information. Just be careful when people start taking data sources when they don't understand where the data is coming from. That does not make up a third of our cases. It's more like a quarter of our cases, but it is still a pretty big population as far as there is a bit of an outbreak out there. It makes up a 4.7 positivity rate. Right now for the state of Florida, we're about at a 5.5% positivity rate, but it's still well within the 10% positivity rate the governor wants to be in to continue with the phases of his phase opening plan for the state of Florida. In the U.S., we're at 1,820,000 cases in the U.S., over 105,644 deaths. That's a 5.8% death rate. Globally, over 6,325,000 cases, over 377,000 deaths. That's a 6% death rate. So I want to kind of put it out in perspective because I know in the beginning of COVID, everyone's like, well, what's that compared to with the flu? Why is this such a big deal? Why are we, making such a big deal about this? So the CDC, you can look this up on the CDC's website for yourself as well, kind of gives some preliminary estimates as far as comparing that to the 19-20 flu season. Flu season lasts about 7 months, started in October, lasts till about April. So about 7 months into it, they estimate, and granted, this is an estimate because when was the last time you went to your doctor and you actually got swabbed with the flu? Basically, you go in there, you find your symptoms, you say, yep, I got flu, you use antibiotics. But they say with COVID, testing is probably been a little higher for flu now. But they estimate about 39 million to 56 million people in the United States probably have flu this past flu season. And about 24,000 to 62,000 probably died from the flu. Those are preliminary estimates this past flu season. That's a 0.11% death rate, or 0.001. So that's 0.11% or 0.001. That's compared to what I just said, a 5.8% death rate. Okay, so the mortality rate for COVID is much, much higher than the flu. So just want to put that in a little bit of perspective, and we're only in 3 months into COVID versus 7 months of a regular seasonal flu, which is an annualized flu rate. So just wanted to give you a little bit of comparison. CDC has, since been a while, but it's expanded their symptoms. On top of the big 3, fever, cough, shortness of breath, there's also chills, muscle pain, new loss of taste, smell, vomiting, sore throat. If you have any of these symptoms, please call your provider. You can also call the Department of Health. We test for free. We are trying to expand our testing capabilities. We're working on that. We're uploading, starting tomorrow in the lab. We hope to be able to get out some new information on some expanded testing criteria very soon. However, with all the rioting down in our main lab in Miami, they are closing very early hours. So we have some delayed turnaround time for our lab. Also, FCHC in our community, urgent care at Walmart, which our Mayor Dowling has so much helped for us to get that expanded testing in our community, which is also free. You can go to myquestcovidtest.com for testing information for Walmart there. I also wanted to give you a little bit of update on antibody testing. I know there's been lots of information on what's antibody testing, why would I do it, where can I get it done, what is the prevalence of it. Basically, it's a serological test, basically a blood test that you can get done through a provider. You can get it done at the hospital. You want to make sure that it is FDA approved. Basically, right now, all that means is FDA is giving them what they call emergency use authorization. You want to make sure that it is approved, that you're going to a provider that's actually got one of these QAs approved from the FDA. And they report these electronically to the Department of Health. If you look on our dashboard webpage, so far of the approved ones, there's been 62 done for Okeechobee County. Of the 62 antibody tests, there are 2 that have come back positive. If you believe you've been exposed to COVID and you are not tested for COVID, meaning you don't currently have the antibody, you'll want to wait 1 to 3 weeks after you've been exposed if you want to go the antibody route. This is the time when the antibodies would most likely show up in your system. 2 people have tested positive, 60 of course have come back negative. For antibody testing, that's a 3.23% positivity antibody rate for us. So as far as the Department of Health is concerned, antibody testing is not included in the COVID case definition, and therefore any positive result, which is an IgG or IgM total, would not be included in our case investigation contact tracing that you hear so much about, and we would not include this in our contact tracing process. And at this time, we do not have any recommendations for persons receiving a positivity rate, positive result for antibody testing regarding any exclusions from work or when to return to work or any follow-up testing that may be needed for this. And the reason for this is because, you would have already shed the cells and you're unable to tell how, how long it's been since you've been positive with COVID in your system. Tests do need to be evaluated in real world scenarios for COVID-19 in order to be effective and able to be developed in the community. Foundational scientific work does need to determine for COVID-19 infection and determine whether causes for long-term immunity have not been done. Basically, we don't know if there is long-term immunity for COVID-19 and whether or not any long-term vaccinations would be viable at this time. Meaning whether or not there would be a vaccine that could be developed that, would it be like the flu that you need to get every year or just a one-time deal? That's all I have to report. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Questions? I have one question. I don't know if you have any information on this, but I know we keep hearing about a second round or I forgot the correct term, but a second round of this maybe coming fall. Is there any
So probably the best way I could answer that is, you know, we talked about a lot about the flattening of the curve in the beginning, and that's because we all kind of social distance and stay at home and try to avoid it to basically not overwhelm our healthcare system. So as we get back to work, we see our numbers continue to kind of rise. And don't get me wrong, we're in a community, we have 85, we have no deaths, and that's a great thing for us. But as we get back to work, I can tell you what we can see in our rise for Okeechobee is our parents are getting back to work and they're contracting COVID-19 and they're bringing that back home to their families. So, you know, the second wave, if you will, is that we get back out to our communities, we travel, and then we bring that back into our community. So any kind of second wave is just coming back into our communities and kind of reinfecting. And what they don't know is what that looks like is, can you catch it again? And if you do catch it again, is it easier to get rid of? Is it harder on your system? They just don't know the answers to that yet.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Ed.
Total count.
1,793.
Out of that, the person on that twice.
The nursing was 52.
How many total is that?
There's about 400 each time.
So,
Staff and,
800.
yeah, probably approximately, probably less. So, yeah, right under 400 each time.
Other questions? I understand there was a nice award ceremony at school the other day. Any
Yes,
other
I heard it
questions?
went well.
Okay, thank you very much,
Okay,
Sid.
thank you so
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Item B on our agenda is an update from the Central Florida Regional Planning Council regarding the Community Planning Technical Assistance Grant. I understand that Jennifer Cotto Salisbury, Deputy Director of the Central Florida Regional Planning Council, is joining us by Zoom. Robin, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
She's joining, are you with us, Jennifer?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you a little bit. Don't turn up the sound just a second. Don't turn up the sound. If you'll-
Okay, I'm on my phone and my computer, so I'm gonna
we can-
mute on my computer and go to the phone.
Oh, we can hear you fine now. She turned up the sound of our speaker here, and I think everybody hear her fine. I think we can hear you fine, Jennifer, so welcome.
Okay, you can hear me okay now?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Oh, wait.
Wait a minute. Something just happened.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. I had planned to be there in person tonight, and some circumstances locally have prevented that, but I look forward to seeing you in person on June 16th and providing a full presentation. I wanted to brief you. Right now, we are working to hold a virtual community workshop this Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. and there's information circulating about that, but it would be via GoToMeeting and a toll-free number for folks to participate. It is an overview of the draft economic development strategy for the city, and also we do have a website where the community can provide comments on that draft plan, but during the virtual workshop, we'd like to give an overview and solicit comments, and we'll certainly keep the comment period open for at least 10 to 15 days on the website. We're also working, the city was awarded a community planning technical assistance grant, and we're working on developing implementation strategies, including looking at any inconsistencies between the comprehensive plan and land development code, and also building in more tools for disaster resiliency. And then of course the environment that we're in is unprecedented, so we are certainly considering all of those dynamics as we look at the viability for our local businesses as well. And am I coming through okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
For some of the military guys in the crowd, that's Lima Charles, is that correct?
Lehman Charlie, loud and clear. Thank you. Do you have other comments to make to us?
No, the biggest thing is just to announce that virtual workshop, and I look forward to seeing you all on June 16th.
Okay, we'll open it up for council questions. Just saying, I'd just like to let the council know we're at Exhibit 1 in case you aren't looking at, I didn't say that. And we do have a flyer on the virtual workshop. That's on our Facebook page, city's Facebook page, and I think several of us have shared it. So I would encourage members of the community to participate in that. And that's Thursday, June the 4th from 3 to 5 p.m. So, and we have the information, I'm sure, the clerk's office or the administrator's office to get that to anyone that would like it. We have any questions from the council for Jennifer? Looks like you're off the hook, Jennifer, for questions. We'll wait till we have you here, and then you know, it may be a little rougher in person.
I look forward to it. I miss seeing you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. That's item C under new business. Review and approve the 2019 audited financials. Debbie, you're with us. And okay, Madam Finance Director India Riedel has a comment first. And then we'll go to Debbie with Carr, Riggs, Ingram, a whole bunch of people. Okay.
Mayor and City Council, yes, I just wanted to make a brief introduction, as the mayor has already actually introduced Debbie Good. She is a partner with Carr, Ingram and Associates, a CPA firm from the actual office that she works out of, the Melbourne office. Just a little bit more background. Ms. Good was also owner of a previous CPA firm that also audited the city of Okeechobee. And over the course of my tenure here with the city of Okeechobee, we entertained several different individuals from her firm. They always interact with different individuals that come to see us, which is a good thing because the different device always looks in a different way at our books and in the procedures that we have. So I appreciate having a firm that has that capability to give us new eyes each year. And then also the consistency. I've had Debbie in the background for years, and she's always a wealth of knowledge by phone and by email. So again, I appreciate Carter Tinkerman and this good for expertise. So again, if I may ask her to come up and
Please do.
the audit.
Debbie, you have before. I'll remind you of council members that's Exhibit 2 in your packet. I think you were also provided a hard copy of the finance inspection. Debbie, welcome again.
Thank you.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you for the nice introduction. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleased to be here. I'm actually excited to be here at this meeting. I've kind of locked away for a few months, like everyone has, so I'm very excited to be in front of people again. I want to give you a very brief presentation on the financial statements. On page 5 is the independent auditor's report, and this is a clean, unqualified, unmodified opinion on your financial statements, which means everything is accurately stated, of course, generally accepted accounting principles and government auditing standards. If you go to page 20 of the financial statement, you'll see the funds of the city, and of course the general fund, the community development capital project fund, and then there's the non-major funds. And the non-major funds consist of the law enforcement special revenue fund and the appropriations capital grant fund. These are combined because they're very small funds. Community development capital project fund is not that large, but it's required by state law that you have a separate audit of your capital project or community development fund. So that is in a separate column. You will see, if you look at the general fund and you look down towards the bottom there, fund balance. Fund balance is assets minus liabilities. And what you'll see in this assets minus liabilities is really what's left. So you've got inventory that's set aside, you can't spend it, so that's set aside $34,955. Public facilities represent your local option gas tax funds. And then you've got subsequent years expenditures assigned. This is for what you appropriated in the next year to spend of your available fund balance. So that has to be set aside. And that leaves you with your unassigned fund balance. And it's $8.8 million. And I often get a question, well, is that a good balance? How are we doing? Well, as an auditor, I am required to come in and look at the financial condition of the city and make sure that you are financially sound. And there's different definitions of what that is, but I can tell you that the Government Accounting Standards Board looks at expenditures to help make that determination. And so if you look at page 21 on total expenditures for the city and the general fund, it was $7 million for the year. You would want to back out capital outlay because that is a non-recurring expenditure. That capital outlay is for fixed assets purchased during the year. So if you back that out, you have about $6.5 million in expenditures. So with $8 million in unassigned, you would have over the amounts of 1 year's expenditures. Now, what that fund balance should be, honestly, is up to you all, but the Government Accounting Standards Board used to say, before COVID, that 2 months, you wanted to have at least a minimum of 2 months of expenditures there. Now, I would argue in Florida, you might want to have a little bit more than that. If you have hurricanes, things like that, you need time to get your money in. So what that exact number should be is to be determined. The other thing that you would have at some time frame, you would have an unassigned fund balance. If you had money that you were setting aside and you did assign that, that's entitled to be used where you would move it up to an assigned line, which management can do, or you could also commit that, which council would do. So if you're working on a big project and you wanted to move some of that money specifically up to a project, you can certainly do that, but you're not required to. So that money is what you have available right now to spend, right? For projects you have, for emergencies and such. So I will tell you that based on other cities that I audit, I have a lot of cities, this is a strong fund balance position to be in. I'm not saying it's too much, I'm not saying it's too little. Again, that's up for you all to decide, but I have to make sure that you're financially sound. And I say that the city is financially sound based on what you have here in unassigned fund balance. Now, next year, with this COVID and everything, the stock market and all these things going on, who knows what the world's going to be. But at this point in time, we do, have footnotes in our statements that we've issued very recently that says, subsequent to that, hey, COVID's out there, there's a lot of unknown financial positions for everybody. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with at least knowing that we do look at it from a, like financially sound. But again, what that should be is totally up to the council to take a determination. If you go to page 61, this is the budget to actual for the city on the general fund. And there's 3 columns here you'll see. You'll see the original budget, the final amended budget, and then the actual on a budgetary basis. And when that means on a budgetary basis means it includes encumbrances for the year, includes the prior year encumbrances. So to note on this is if you go down about 3 lines from the bottom, you'll see excess of revenues and other financing sources over expenditures and other financing sources uses. So you can see that the city originally budgeted $1.5 million to use of available fund balance. The final budget was amended to only use $162,000, and the city came out positive with $260,000. So the revenues were in excess of expenditures by $260,000. So that led to a final budget compared to the actual of positive $423,000. There were no areas in the expenditure side where you were in excess of what you budgeted. Compare that. If you look at page 62, another question these days is how are our pension plans doing? And the actuaries, of course, determine how your plans are doing. And if you look at the first column, this is the police officers on page 62. And if you look at the 2019 column, follow it all the way down to the first double underline, you'll see net pension liability assets. And so what you have in the down. Police officers plan at the end of the year as an asset of $640,000. So based on actuarial assumptions, you actually have more in the plan than you need, which is a good thing. And so you are 106.68% funded. Again, this is an excellent thing. I often do not see cities at even 100%. You like to be, again, it's a big debate what this should be, but 80% better, at least. And of course, with markets the way they are right now, it would be a whole different story. So this is as of September 30th, 2019. If you look over to page 63 in the firefighters, you'll see a similar trend there in 2019. There's a $313,000 asset, 170.69% funded. And of course, you can see the trends too if you want to look at that year over year. If you turn to page 64, you see that the general employees also has a net pension asset of $645,000, 115% almost overfunded. So again, you are right now, we're at September 30th, you are in a good position. If we go to page 73, this is the report on internal control, compliance with laws and regulations, and we take a very hard look every year. You don't have a huge accounting department, but there's still the ability to put checks and balances in place, and as auditors, I want to make sure that everybody's been given the carrot to have the opportunity to take funds. And so we look at the internal controls every year. We do what we call walkthroughs. Somebody says this is occurring, we want to see it. We want to see that somebody signed that they reviewed it. So you have very good internal controls here. If you didn't, I would certainly be writing a comment. And again, every year we come in, we look at it and say, okay, this is a new year. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Do you have controls in place? On page 75 is the management letter that's required by the rules of the Auditor General. In the previous year, we actually had a comment on capital asset disposal approvals that had to do with the council approving asset disposals and completing a form. That has been cleared this year, so that is occurring now. And we're happy to see that our comments are taken seriously and cleared, and that was the only comment we had. As it also says on this letter on page 76, we are required by the Auditor General to look at the financial condition to make sure that payments are occurring, there's no issues with that, and we have no issues reported in this letter. Everything is clean. On page 77, we look at compliance with investment policy, and that's another report that we have to issue here in accordance with Florida statutes, and you're in compliance with all required investment policies. I have a separate letter that was issued with the required communications. And this letter really just summarizes that there's some estimates in the financial statements, like for pension liabilities, actuaries determine those. So there are some estimates in the statements. And it requires that we communicate, did we find anything that we need to make you aware of? Was there anything that was fraudulent and all that? This is a totally clean letter that we're issuing to you on the required communication. Also, we would report any journal entries that we made here, and there were no journal entries that we had to make, which is excellent. I will tell you that is not true of everywhere that we go to audit. So with that, I would be glad to take your questions.
Thank you, Debbie. Any questions from the council? Questions? Thank you. I'd just like to congratulate India. I know she holds her breath every year. India can't stand to have any. The last year's comment, I think was that, was nothing that, wasn't that major, I guess, any comment on this. And I think it worried her to death. So I know that so you and your staff, thank you very much for all your great work. So we appreciate it.
Yes, and India does an excellent job for you. Like I said, that's my job. If she wasn't, I would be telling you that, and we'd be having a different conversations. So thank you again. I appreciate the very front seat, putting the auditor in the front seat.
Yeah, right in the very front. Debbie, thank you very much. Have a safe trip. I'll be quick writing for you. Thank you very much. Okay,
Okay, we will move on then. The next item, item D, we need a motion to read by title only, proposed ordinance number 1211, allowing package sale of alcohol beverages on Sundays. Exhibit 3 in your packet. Do we have a motion to read by title only?
Motion to read by title.
Motion by Councilmember Keith. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Gerald to read by title only. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Mr. Attorney, would you please read ordinance number of the title of ordinance number 1211?
An ordinance of the city of Okeechobee, Florida, amending section 6-1 of chapter 6 of the Code of Ordinances, provide for the sale of alcohol, including package sales within the city at certain times of the day, providing for conflict, severability, and effectiveness.
Do we have a motion to approve the first reading and set the final public hearing date of July the 7th, 2020 for proposed ordinance number 1211? Have a motion by Councilmember Clark. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Keith. We'll move into discussion. This is to allow basically the same hours as every other day for package sales of alcoholic beverages. So do we have any, not technically a public hearing, but do we have any comments from the public? I assume you have no Zoom comments, Madam Host?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on. Any discussion from the council? This is the first reading and it'll be set for public hearing on July 7th. So discussion from the council. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, the motion carries, so it will be set for public hearing date on July 7th. Next item, we need to consider a letter of, item E was removed from the agenda. We'll go to item F. We need to review and approve the 2020-2021 school resource officer agreement for Okeechobee Christian Academy. It's exhibit 5 in your packet, and Mr. Administrator, I think you're going to take this, right?
Yes, sir. This is basically the same contract we have with Okeechobee Christian Academy. They have a private, they fund their private school funding a MSRO through the police department. Obviously, this is the same contract you saw last year. There is one caveat, which is section C in Article 3, section C, that we saw something new through this COVID outbreak this year. Again, it kind of gives them a little bit of out for 30 days and the maximum value on that as well.
So yeah, I think just to kind of clarify that for everyone, they had asked if there was some way if we had this situation where there was no school for extended period of time, and so this was drafted. It has to be a formally declared state or local emergency that would cause school to be out for 30 or more consecutive days. So if that school is up for 2 weeks, it doesn't apply. And the maximum reduction would be a lump sum not to exceed $20,000. Assuming we prorate the contract, so it could not exceed $20,000 on the contract. So I hope that kind of clarifies. That was something they requested. It's up to the council to think that's fair, but they were saying that it's not their fault that school wasn't in and they were funding an officer that really they had no use for. I guess we could maybe use that officer in some way during that time.
Chief, I know we've used them along with the school buses and whatnot to deliver food, meals, etc. Potentially cover a shift or two if there's been someone out.
Yeah, the important part here was that we don't use our taxpayer money to subsidize a private school. If this clause is activated, it means we're under a state of emergency. If we're under that, then we actually need the additional help. The school resource officer could actually work for the police department and for the citizens. So I think this is a win-win.
Kind of a compromise. Questions from the council or? We need a motion to approve. We have a motion. Councilmember Gerald will approve the school resource officer agreement for Okeechobee Christian Academy. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Clark. Any other discussion?
Just one item, in section B, we need to change the commencing date of July 1st, 2020.
Okay. Yeah, July. So noted, Madam Clerk. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we need a motion to approve a purchase agreement with the Florida Department of Transportation for the acquisition of 6,089 square feet of parcel 125 from the city in the amount of $12,200 regarding the State Road 710 bypass project. Exhibit 6, do we have a motion? Have a motion by Councilmember Clark to approve, and a second by Councilmember Keith. City Administrator, I think we discussed this at our last meeting, but you want to
Yes,
say that, please?
Yes, Mr. Republic, this is one of the small piece of property that we have between Taylor Creek and what is now the OU Research Park facility. We don't have any expansion or any issue in that area. We did send DOT the statement of offer response back to them. This was their negotiated number back to us based on their, in the state. The appraisal was right. The state was fair. I know the attorney took a review on it, and it's pretty standard for their.
All right, any other discussion from the council, or we discussed this from the last time? No discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is item H, discuss the fire services interlocal agreement, which is exhibit 7 in your packet. We're also given several letters and some other information that was provided this evening. Before we kind of begin this discussion, I imagine that most of you probably watched the last county commission meeting. I don't know if you had an opportunity to watch but they had a discussion at the very end of their meeting on the fire services interlocal agreement. And I would like to just make a couple of comments. First of all, I'd like to, and I hope I speak to the council that I kind of apologize to the county commission. You know, we were the ones that asked for this. They didn't ask for this. And the county commission has called, in my opinion, probably more flack than they deserve over this, because we asked them to do this. So, you know, they didn't come up with this idea. We did. And there was some comments made, and I know several of the commissioners felt like that some of the comments have been made that may been derogatory towards their staff. And I think all of us probably agree that the county paramedics and firefighters, their staff is very professional, and I don't think we'd be entering into a contract or trying to enter into a contract with them if we didn't think that they were professional and did a good job. So I hope that the public and the county commission understand that those weren't the feelings of the council, and I think we all probably agree with that. There's a couple of things that I think before we begin our discussion, I think there's a couple of things that, if it's okay, I know we'll have some comments from the public and probably some from our Zoom meeting. But I would like to read a couple of letters that have been asked to be read into the record. I will first begin with the Professional Firefighters and Paramedics of Okeechobee, Inc., Local 2918. Dated May 7, 2020. Dear Mayor Dowling, on behalf of the Executive Board and members of IAFF Local 2918, Professional Firefighters and Paramedics of Okeechobee, I write to advise you and the City Council members of our opposition to the proposed ILA between Okeechobee County and the City of Okeechobee for fire service. As you are aware, the agreement as drafted would cease the employment of all firefighters who have honorably served the City of Okeechobee. IAFF Local 2918 asks the city council to cease and desist any further negotiations with the county that causes the displacement of members that have unselfishly devoted their lives to this council, the residents and visitors of this great city. Local 2918 represents the firefighters of both the city of Okeechobee and Okeechobee County. Although we realize the value of a consolidated or regional approach to fire service, we cannot support any action that does so by laying off firefighters and reducing staffing to your city residents. There are models all across South Florida that have moved to regional fire service delivery without harming the firefighters who have served those areas. This local is more than willing to work with the city if that is your goal. This plan is not the answer. In these times of COVID-19 pandemic, your first responders have done all they've been asked to do, risking life, health, and potentially even the health of our families we go home to. We do not back down, have been here to protect this city, and have become stronger together to get through these tough times. We are asking for you and this council to have our backs, to protect our jobs, our future, and our families as we serve your respectfully, Josh Fortune, President Local 2918. And I think you all have a copy of that. We also have a copy of a letter from the Economic Council of Okeechobee. I know we have representatives here tonight who probably won't speak in a moment. Jennifer said that you have this copy as you didn't necessarily want it read into the record. So you have a copy of the letter, and you were also provided a fire services fact sheet from the Economic Council of Okeechobee. I think you all should have those in your packet. The last I would like to read is, we received this late this afternoon. If you did watch the county commission meeting, the chairman was given instructions from the Board of County Commissioners to write the city a letter regarding their discussion. So here it is, dated June 2nd, 2020. Dear Honorable Mayor Watford and Council members, the Board of, and I think you all have a copy of this, Board of County Commissioners of Okeechobee County, parentheses county, at the request of the city of Okeechobee, parentheses city, prepared and provided an interlocal agreement, parentheses agreement, for fire services without specific guidance from the city other than acceptance of the cost proposed. The county submitted an initial draft agreement, understanding that the city and the county would work together, collaborating on the agreement to reach a mutually beneficial arrangement. To that end, the county, in its spirit of cooperation, remains willing to honor the initial draft proposal and negotiate on terms in the initial draft proposal, except section 5 of the revised draft agreement provided to you by the city administrator. The revised draft agreement before you from the city administrator has various additional terms for your consideration. The terms in section 11, service performance goals, including penalties and reporting requirements, are not mutually agreeable. We trust the city council will diligently review these recommendations alongside the initial draft agreement submitted, considering each change carefully in the continuous spirit of cooperation that has been mutually beneficial to both the city and the county. Finally, to clarify any potential past misunderstanding, please understand that the county has not made any decision one way or another as to a preference for holding a referendum concerning this matter. The initial draft interlocal agreement was prepared in such a way that a dual referendum would not be legally required, as the county would not be placing an assessment on the city properties. But this does not govern the ultimate decision of whether a referendum is held by the city. The county looks forward to continuing to work together in the best interest of all the citizens of Okeechobee County. Respectfully submitted on behalf of the Okeechobee County Board of County Commissioners, Kerry W. Burrows, Chairman. I think you all have a copy of it. So with that, we'll open it up for discussion. As we did in our last meeting, I think sort of keep this on track. We'll have the council have discussion first, so the public has an idea of what our intentions or what our desires may be, and then they would be well qualified then to comment on them. So we'll open up for discussion. Council, if I may start, I think that
if you watch the county commission meeting, or listen to it, that you know, it's quite evident that the proposals that we made at our last meeting, it appears are not acceptable to them. That's the impression I got watching the meeting. That they didn't want to go with the fee that we suggested, which was the amount of the fire assessment that would have been assessed in the city. It would not exceed that. But they were willing, the impression I got, they were willing to negotiate on other items. And they even threw out some examples like maintenance on vehicles, purchase or lease of vehicles and those types of things. So they were, agreeable to the original interlocal that they had provided us to, look at those items. So we'll open it up for discussion for who wants to start. I'll ask like I did last time. I guess the first question is, I assume do we want to continue with the negotiation process? Do we have a consensus on yes? Yes. Okay. All right, we have a consensus. Okay, Councilmember Garrett.
Going back to last year when this was brought up, it was brought up for one reason. That was to reduce the expenses of the city, to reduce the taxes to the residents. Somehow we've got off track. When we're paying 8% in the county for taxes, that's not fair to our senior citizens that are on fixed income. And that's where this whole thing started. And if we can save $500,000 or $600,000 a year and give them the same service, all the meetings we've held, there's never been one complaint about the service the EMT did. And they're the county, they've always provided it. So I don't expect that to change. They're covering 87% of the cost. I think there's still a little room for them to come down on their figure. But if they're covering 87% of the calls now, that only leaves about 300 calls to do. I disagree that they needed 7 people, but if that's what they need, that's fine. But we're going to provide 3 additional shifts, crews, to provide 300 calls. That's not even one a day. So I think they've been very fair with what they've given. But the last thing they gave us was totally unacceptable. And I think what we're providing tonight is totally unacceptable. Why we want to even question the time and the service that they're going to give, I don't think it should be there. If we had no complaint over the EMT all these years, why would we have a complaint now? I want to make sure that they continue to give us the ISO and continue to give us the service. But if they don't, and we decided to go to the county, we haven't decided that. We've been discussing this, trying to get some figures together, and we're not there yet. We need to get final figures that are realistic. We asked them to give us figures on what it would cost us for them to provide the service. They gave us those figures, and I thought they were fairly well in line. I think there's a little room for adjustment. But they said you need 7 people. The biggest expense of the fire department is wages. Now we come back and we're proposing, and I was part of it, we proposed to tell them they've got to hire 12 people. I was in business all my life. If I needed 1 or 2 employees, I'm not going to hire 7 because they can't afford them. We can't expect the county to provide this service where they give us an estimate for 7 people and tell them that they've got to take 12. Being that the labor is the biggest factor in the expense. So I think we have to be realistic, and if we discuss it tonight, it takes all night, that's okay. But I think tonight we need to go step by step and be realistic in what we present.
And I failed to mention one other thing. Thank you, Bill. I failed to mention one other thing that was mentioned at their meeting and has been mentioned again to me today. at their meeting, and I'm trying to do this from memory, so if I quote the wrong commissioner, I apologize. I think Commissioner Hazeley, and I think another commissioner, strongly agreed with it, suggested that, his suggestion was that the two administrators, two attorneys meet to negotiate the finer items rather than trying to negotiate this in public as we have to do, to go back and forth, that perhaps it would be better. And then today it was suggested that perhaps, I don't know if you call it a committee, but that there would be one, the suggestion was that the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners and the mayor, along with the administrators, attorneys, sit down to negotiate, as they call it, the finer items. But I just wanted to let you know that that was suggested in their meeting and has been suggested in perhaps some of y'all also by some other entities, but that was suggested. So, okay, other comments from?
Yeah.
Councilmember Carr.
I just want to let you know, I am so disappointed by the comments that have been made regarding the city and the county firefighters. We're one community, and I would hope that we're all coming together to do what's best for our community. And making false accusations and asking personal comments have no place in my book at all. I'm just disgusted with some of the comments that have been made. The firefighters at the city and the county are all professional, and I have complete confidence if I ever need their services, they will do the best of the best. I don't feel that what we have before them is what we need. I don't feel like I'm an expert in negotiating this contract. I think I agree with them going back to a committee to talk about what we can do. And after last meeting, Tori, who is the Southeastern representative from the union, I had a very lengthy conversation with her. She said that she's been involved in many consolidations or mergers or whatever you want to call it, because the small cities just not afford their fire departments anymore. Not that inside all of us that we want to keep the fire department. Just fiscally, we cannot afford to continue the fire department. So she said that she would be willing to work with us. I think she talked to our attorney, and she said in every situation that they have hired all the firefighters at their current rank level, and that maybe it costs the city the first year a little bit more than the second year, the third year, the fourth year, but it could be done. And one of the things that we're missing from all of this is the labor aspect of the union. And I think if we're going to put together that task force, we need to have Josh or Corey involved in this process to look at it, because one of the sticklers in all of this has been, I said I would never agree to this without all our firefighters who are going to the county paid what they're getting paid now at the levels of years of service, that they would be included in that contract. I mean, it's a stickler. And so I think we now have somebody, and again, I think we called the other union rep, he actually left Okeechobee County to go work in Highlands County as a firefighter, so we lost our contact. Now we have Josh. And I think we have an opening here to really talk about it, because they're saying there was no discussion about opening the union contract, and she's saying there's a way to do it without doing it.
I just know what the county commissioner said, that they were not willing to open.
Well, I think I don't know if they've been informed or not, but I mean, they've been told that they have to open fire contract, and according to what I was told, that's not necessarily it's not worth a try to do this, then I don't think we need to be discussing this further. That's the way I think. If we can't pull together, work together for the benefit of the county and the city, then I don't think we need to continue. And I think that Victoria is willing to work with us, Josh Union's willing to work with us. And we come up with some ideas, and then we say it's not going to work, then I just don't think we need to go on. I don't think we need to waste any more time. I feel so bad for our firefighters that they have been living at a level of uncertainty since really they first came up in July. And I was again a part of it. They started bringing out the fire assessment fee for the city. And I was totally against the fire assessment fee 4 years ago when they did the fire assessment. And because it's 3 times higher for businesses in the city than what they're paying the county for businesses. So based on square footage, and they said to fund our fire department for a fire assessment, it'd be 33 cents a square foot. You can figure out how much that's going to be. And I talked about it last week, the last meeting, about what it would cost, like First Baptist Church, $30,000 for a fire assessment fee. So, to fund our fire department, there's got to be a way to work together. I talked to some of the firemen here, and I said, you have a problem working at the county. They go, it's a brotherhood. We work with these people every single day. If we have an accident in the city, it's the county ambulance goes to the site, and it's our fire engine goes to the site, and our people work together. So I don't believe that I would get any less great service if I had an accident in the city and our people were working at the county. So those are my thoughts.
Member Ed, you have comments or?
I'll go ahead there. My thoughts are very parallel with as far as from day one, I've always guessed that we did a consultant to come on to help us, because I know that the city and the county staff have worked diligently to come up with this contract, and I appreciate that. But if there's someone that is very knowledgeable in this process, that would be a great thing. So I'm Corey or Doc can be a part of that discussion. That'd be great too. But, I've always been for it's good for the citizens and it's good for the firefighters. It can be it can be good for everyone and save money, and it should be a win-win. Yes. So I have a history in law enforcement and public service. I have family that was a city chief, fire chief, a year or so. I care much about the city fire department, and I would like to see it worked out. I'm in favor of this task force. I don't know if you call it a committee, but call it a joint meeting of people you discussed, and Lori can be part of that. I think she can bring a lot of information to that. So I'm for it.
I'm going to be the one that calls out just what's being presented here tonight, and that it was designed to be presented for further council discussion concerning the proposed agreement with the County Fire Service. The draft document incorporates direction from the council provided at its last meeting. Check includes language from the contract between the city of Hollandale and Broward County. Never told them to do that. It includes input from the city administrator. Didn't ask for that. So I'm just I don't think we're even going to go line by line through this contract. It sounds like that was provided by staff, but had note annotations all over this. So I didn't ask for, I don't recall, Hollandale and Broward County stuff being brought up at the last meeting. Anyway, so a lot of the language that is added to the county's draft that is being presented tonight, that went out on exhibit items on the website, which of course is how we got, a lot of knowledge. Obviously, the county was referencing that, and a lot of that language did not come from the council. So it's very disheartening that we're getting presented stuff in addition to what direction was provided. I appreciate the studying of and presentation of information that other cities or counties have gone through, and comments or talking points could all be provided in a memo separate from the draft amendment, so that we could have talking points in order. But that's a great point. Yeah, let's have that. But the direction that we gave as a city council two weeks ago at our last meeting did not include a lot of languages that's being presented this evening. I think that was a lot of the answers that the county had at the last meeting.
Okay, so where do we want to go from here? Do we want to go ahead and take the public comments and then decide where we want to go from here, or do we want, or are we, just so the public knows, I assume from what I'm hearing, we're not going to discuss the proposed contract that we have in front of us. We're going to try to set up a task force. I guess that's a good, probably a good problem. Is that kind of where we're headed, or I don't know if you're shaking yes or no. I'm looking at you, Councilmember.
Talking to me?
Yeah, I
Talking to the attorney.
don't pay attention to him. You don't have to let down.
One of the questions that I have is, did you talk with Corey from Union and Marcus? Did you both meet with her, and did you feel that she was offering you information that would benefit us in this journey?
I did speak. I spoke to Josh. I spoke to Tori. Anyone else who had information, I thought had some bearing on this. Tori has actually done these deals on several occasions. In my opinion, she had some important insight and provided us with model agreements where, for example, the one I looked at, where the city of Allendale brought their fire services over to Broward County. Very similar scenario. And in that case, there was concerns, as you voiced, about the fire personnel, making sure they had jobs. And they had language in that agreement that they did. But some of that language is in here. But I heard three principles at the last meeting. Council.
In what? You're pointing to what?
Oh, the red line.
Okay, so the draft you're talking about, you put some of the Allendale information and put it in the draft.
Sure did.
Okay.
Mr. McCormick, I just want to bring up too that the attorney Guerrero and I did sit down and go through. I even double check the plan to make sure we did kind of catch the intent of what the council directed us to do on every section. So it may not have been the exact wording, but every section we tried to come up with language and direction by council. So there wasn't, we weren't trying to add things or anything like that. We just took them out of areas as by council and ourselves. That the clerk, if we were going to go down and get draft minutes, but I think we literally hit every item that they asked us to incorporate.
Mr. Mayor, I think that we
Go ahead. Attorney Romero.
One, please keep in mind if you create, whether you call it committee, you can call it task force, you're now creating a sunshine audit. That you're creating a group like that and formally appointing them. I would recommend what I think the mayor started with, which the mayor and or the administrator and the respective attorneys have a meeting to go over this. My guess is also that maybe you'll have to be productive rather than the public back and forth. And I think you can do that without creating a sunshine body or task force for committee. That's number one. And secondly, I want to make sure I'm My job is to execute your policy. I heard three things at the last meeting. One, on the financial, that there was support for the economic council. I carry that. Number two, that the existing city fire personnel were to be protected. That means they would have the option to get a job account. So we addressed that there. Number three, there was a concept that was introduced by the administrator's memo to you at the last meeting about a metric, a level of service, so that we could assure everyone that the same level of service would carry forward into this agreement. It was not in any way intended to challenge the integrity of anyone on the council. It was merely to capture that concept that I understood was supported by him. And that was it. Those were the three principles that I had in mind when I reviewed this agreement. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we kind of think that's the way we are leaning. Council member, any suggestions?
I just want to be clear that if this group needs that it's actually got to come back to the city, and I want to be clear to the public that it wouldn't be made then, it would have to come back to the city and the county, and it would both have to agree upon the contract. But I would definitely like to see Hillary, I think you offered, if she's willing, and be part of that. I mean, I think it would be a great asset.
And I guess the county board would have to agree that that would be one members. Sure. Yeah, and one council member can't make a decision. And it may take some coming back and forth even. You know, if we get to a deadlock and, you know, we say, okay, we can't negotiate this, then do we want to continue on? We may come to that, I don't know. So it may not be something we determine in one meeting of that task force. I would think it's going to take some time. I do want to say, and I think out of fairness, I should say this, because I think everybody knows where I stand on this. I don't, if anybody doesn't, I've been listening to our meetings. As you all know, that I'm not in favor of this. I mean, I've said that day one. I will say that I take my responsibility very seriously. And, you know, if you wanted me to, wanted to do that way, I would do the best I could for the city, and I think I've always done that. I'll just give you, years ago, we used to have a Palm Beach Post reporter come to our meetings, and we were discussing a certain item, and as you know, I asked a lot of questions, and I talked a lot, and I was talking a lot at that meeting, and suggesting we do this and we do that. He thought I was in favor of it, but when the vote was taken 4-1, I voted against it. Well, he had left the meeting, so he reported in the Palm Beach Post that the item was passed unanimously. Well, I had fun the next morning, and I said, well, I didn't vote for it. He said, yeah, but you were fine. I said, yeah, I was trying to make it the best I could make it. I knew it was going to pass, so I wanted to make sure that it was the best that we could make it. So I would, I would just tell you that I would certainly try to do that here. Whether I agree with the, with the premise or not. So, but I think y'all know, I just didn't want anybody to say, well, you're not in favor of it. So, but anyway, that's another matter. Okay.
Yeah, that would be an issue because you said since day one, I'm not in favor of this, so I have a hard time thinking that if you're against it before we ever go to a debate on it, that the facts aren't going to change their mind. So yeah, I do have an issue with that.
Okay. And that would be up to the council whoever they want to appoint.
I feel that the mayor could do it, even though he's against it. I think the objective is the fact that he would try to get the best deal for the city. Against it or not, so he would do the best that he could for the city residents.
And I have changed my mind a time or two, but not very often. Yeah. Well, let's open it up then for public comment. I know we have a lot of people that are interested in this and like to comment. So we'll open it up for public comment. We'll open it up first for those who are in the room and have been sitting here to our deliberations. So we'll open it up to those in the room. So if you would like to make a comment, I'll make the same statement I made last meeting. I just request that just remind you that you're addressing forward. You're not addressing the audience, you're addressing forward. Appreciate your comments addressed to us. And we would respectfully request that those other members of the audience that do not, boo or hiss or whatever, if somebody makes a comment you don't agree with, we all want to be civil here. And we ask that you do keep your comments civil. The chair has the right to ask you to either sit down or to calm it down or whatever. So we hope we don't have to do that because we're all here for the betterment of our community. Okay, we'll open up for comments. Steve, you're standing up, or you want to speak first? Okay. And if I will remind you, if you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You gotta speak up.
First of all, I just wanted to say for the Okeechobee County Fire Rescue people that there's never been an issue with that. I have the utmost respect for them as well as my firefighters do. I don't follow social media. I barely look at that. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. All I'm telling you is what I hear from my department and what I've seen over the years is I would have them work on my family or my house or whatever at any time that I support them 100% as certified firefighters. We are equal. We are trained the same. Some have more education than others, but some have more experience. But when it comes down to it, I trust them just like I would my own people. So I want that said out in the open so that the county officials understand that we support that, regardless of what happens. So I want that said. The second thing I would like to say is please don't rush at this point and take your time. I've said that before. Please take your time. Please at this point exhaust all options. Even if this one, exhaust what you want with this part of it. I want to say thank you for even trying to go to the committee and try to work it out. That's great. That's awesome. And I appreciate that. As a chief, I appreciate that from my employees that you're trying to work toward and it's legitimate. Means a lot. And I can tell you from experience that with my guys, I even told them how proud I am of them. They've had this hanging over their head for a long time. It has slightly destroyed my department a little bit, in many ways, and it's been disruptive. But I understand what you're doing. But it has hurt, and I'm very proud of them because they had never given less than what they've always done. They've always performed like they always do. They'll do it even, I hate to say it, even if you just pay them, they would do the same level of service, and that's not what I'm asking. So, but that was the point of the professionalism of my people. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in service. And I've told them that. And with the COVID-19 over their head, we've had close calls already. We've had isolation. We've had to deal with that. I even went home one day with a mask on because I didn't want to infect my family because I thought I was exposed. And it turned out well, but it's just everything on top of that you would expect some. There's a lot of feelings going on. These are people that are, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of writing. And I would ask that you have empathy in that area, that you can yourself in our situation of a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year person. We can't start over careers. Regardless of what the law states, that, you know, we can't hire, you know, you can't say that you'll hire a 40-year-old man or 50-year-old woman or whatever. I'm sorry, but in the real world, we don't hire them. I do, because I like the older, mature people. They fit in my department. But you're naturally in your bigger departments, they go to the 20-year-old kids. Because there's no baggage, no physical limitations, there's no baggage, it's like me and a lot of my, you know, we're walking skeletons, you know, as far as having been banged up over the years. And our lives are shortened from everything we've breathed over the years. So it's taken a toll on us. But I just ask that I just want you to know your people, your firefighters have kept their standard of care up during all of this. If they will remain at that, no matter if you decide to get rid of us, we're going to do it to the day we leave. I just want that known to you and to the people and to the citizens. And I want to ask you that you would, as you're looking at your committee, that there are other options out there that have been given to you. There's some unknowns about police transport. I've even looked at the possibility of public safety. That's the combination of firefighter, police officer, paramedics, EMTs, whatever you want to have. I talked to the police chief. You know, you can put one department on another, so you eliminate one major position, fine. That's a savings right there. So, I mean, there are some options we can talk about if you just take some time, and if this doesn't go through with what you want to work out, then let's not just take whatever deal we can. That's my point. Well, let's kind of put that on the table, and let's look at these other items first. And if we have to hire a third party, let's do that, so that we can get you get somebody else who is an expert at it. They can give you some data and give you some direction. Maybe it'll help us. You know, it's working. And basically, just give it a chance and take your time at this point. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Thank you. Other comments from the public? Keith? And I'll ask you to state your name.
Keith Walpole. I'm here tonight representing the Economic Council of Mississippi. It is a very emotional subject. And Chief, I think the community thanks you and your staff for the professionalism, their dedication to the community that we all love. This COVID issue is driving tremendous economic concerns for all of us. And I think the council has been prudent in the discussion on how to look at ways to save money moving forward into the future. This savings and this discussion is, I think there's some people that have gotten a little bit lost. I think the chief staff, their families, we probably all could have done a better job of having discussions with them and helping them, sort of navigate through this. The Economic Council's position has never been to displace those people. It's been to facilitate these conversations. And I think this discussion that you potentially could have, hopefully you guys will make a decision to meet with the county and talk about these things. There's so many really critical things to talk about: turnover, vacancies, all of these things that have happened over the past 8 or 9 months that this has been on the table. If we'd had some of these discussions earlier, maybe there would be more positions open. So I think it's extremely important to talk one-on-one with the administrators, the attorneys, the representative brought up that has great experience, and to help kind of get over this and have good, frank, constructive discussion and stop this negotiating at the diocese, because it's just impossible to Councilman Cheryl, we know that the mayor is on the opposite side of his wants, but also all of us at the council know the integrity, his love for this community. We suggested the mayor because of the feeling like we couldn't find a more dedicated person to bring the right information back to your council. Hands down. The community is in good hands. The same for the here. It's true. We've known each other for a long time. So I think it's a worthwhile investment on the time to look at the savings. That's a significant amount of money. And I think that we didn't get into the financial side of it. But I think from the county's perspective, they're looking at $7 million or at least a couple $1 million shortfall with this COVID downturn. I'm not sure what the city's impact may be. But over the course of the next 18 to 24 months, it could be pretty significant, particularly the way they've gone the past few days on top of it. We appreciate the energy and the effort, the dedication for city staff, all markets, everybody's been involved in it. Try to move forward. Appreciate the leadership of the council. We think it's important for the future of the community. We just don't have the growth rate to sustain type of department and give other areas within the city the funding that they need. I think there's other areas that could help. So, sure. Also, continue to get great service all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Other comments from the lady, getting our new procedure. Wes, you have a comment?
Frank Wesley Williams in the dark. Thank you, Council. I just want to echo something that Keith said, and that is the integrity that you all want to behind the town. And the fact that he admits that he's against this is very positive. But we know that he's going to be the best deal. I have 100% confidence in him. One thing for clarification, I feel like maybe here, each one of you all, is was your position that the county had to hire all of your firefighters? And if so, is that position the consensus that Allen will have to negotiate within those parameters?
If the council would like to respond, I think you have a valid question. Councilmember Keith, you jumped up first.
I think that the intent, what was put forth was that, you know, our desire, what like Councilman Clark said, is that no one was harmed, no firefighters' jobs were harmed in any way. Knowing that the county's requesting only 6 firefighters and an inspector, it was our desire that in the essence of no harm, that all 12 would come. I do believe, in my recollection, I was the one that mentioned that let's ask for all 12. Honestly, knowing full well that that wasn't going to fly, but if we can get the negotiations going and talk about how we can make that happen. Attrition, you mentioned, you know, vacancies, so that was what was last. That answer your question? Or are you asking for this evening's intent?
If I were Mayor Waffle, I would want to know that negotiation, because the position is we're going to require you to take all 12. And the county's position is that collective bargaining agreement will allow that. If those are the case, this would be some tough to get from here.
To me, that would be ideally the situation if they took all the employees. But if by taking all the employees, it's going to cost us more than we're paying now. We're not doing what we set out to do, is to cut the tax. So yeah, I'm all in favor of all going, but not at the expense of the city taxpayers. Councilman Howard.
Just to clarify, at the last meeting, I knew the county was very clear that they would only take 6 paramedics and 1 inspector. And we have 6 in school or 7? We have 6 in paramedic school and we have 1 existing paramedic on staff. So we have 7 paramedics. So realistically, from what the county told us, and they said there's no negotiation, is they would only pay paramedics and 1 inspector, which is 7 employees. And that's all that we have that are paramedics. So I said 7 last meeting. After talking to Tori from the union, she said it is possible, without opening up their bargaining agreement, the collective agreement, that you can sit down and do an amendment to that agreement. And if the council wants to, they can make a provision to hire all 12 employees. And then what happens as there's attrition or there's vacancies, then the commitment from the city, if they're going to do an interlocal agreement. I don't want to get into detail what she said because she's been involved in so many of them, they're different. But what she was saying is that, you know, through attrition and vacancies and people leaving, that essentially they end up down to the 6 people within a couple of years, 2 to 3 years. And if it's a subcontracting or interlocal agreement, because the city is a separate taxing district, they don't have to go to referendum for an assessment, and the city can pay them, you know, higher amount of money the first year and lower amount the second year and third year to get down to that number of people. But I don't think it really matters, because I think what happens is they've got to come to an agreement. According to the county, they said they would have to open the entire collective bargaining agreement, and the union representative said that is just not true. That every county, the Palm Beach County, Broward County, Dade County, they've been involved in merging city fire departments with the counties, that they have taken people, all the people, or they negotiated retirement or payouts or buyouts or whatever. And so I think there's options available. But the county thinks that they can't without opening the whole bargaining agreement. But she said that is not true. So I think what happens is they have to understand it can be done without, you know, worrying about all their firefighters having increase in pay.
So your position that they're, that it was 1 to 5, that they need to take all 12, and is that what, I guess I'm
just saying, I don't know. I didn't know where they were. I mean,
my point is,
And I think that they should take as many as they can, or as many that the city wants to go. Because right now, there's 2 openings in the town. If they take our 6, there are 2 openings, that's 8 who come from the city as well. So that leaves 4. If their attrition rate is 2 per year, we could take the extra 4 for another 2 years. And then somebody leaves, that's 1 less person that we can pay extra for. And then within 2 years, we're down to the base rate already. We're still saving money year 1. So I think that should be thought of, that discussion, that anyone that wants to come over to the city, come over, but already here, 8% of them will live. So I think that can be worked out. I don't think that that's a non-agreement that has to be all 12, but as many as possibly take. And if there's 2 or 3 more that we have to pay for a year or 2, I think it's a win-win for everyone.
my only point was, if you're going to negotiations, I feel like the consensus is they have to take all 12, it's going to be some pretty thought out for short negotiations from those sides. Because that is the $800 bill.
And I think, you know, just my thought was, that's why I said we may be coming back to council. It may not be a quick negotiation, but we may come back and say, okay, you want to continue on, here's the deadlock there.
I guess my thoughts were, I thought that we might be offering packages to people close to retirement, people that have only been here 1 year, you know, because they were very adamant that they had to be paramedics out, then we have another out, another alternative that we can do ambulances. But anyway, so I think what happens, again, that's part of that discussion, and I think Tori would be a good person, and Josh, he understands now too, and so why, that there's a lot of options. And we just have to look and see what they are, and what's best for us.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, other comments from the public? Let him wipe the voting down, sir. You next. Apologize for the delay, but I'm going to do it. No problem. If you would say one step. Thank you.
I've just been trying to wrap my head around this for the last week or two. So I've been involved with the community for years, different aspects. I sit on the planning and zoning board for the county. I spoke with a couple of the county commissioners yesterday about this matter. This is just from listening here tonight and what you guys have had to say. And knowing a lot of what you hear in the public and social media, I really respect your opinion. The fact that you are opposed to this, and I understand a lot of the reasons why. But just in what's here tonight before us, before we put that here for the financial, you got $8 million unassigned. I understand we don't know what's going to happen. You know, more money is going to have to be spent. You know, you got a strong financial sound system right here working right now. She was committed on the job that they've got. That's wonderful. I don't understand the push. You say that Mr. Gerald stated that we were doing this for the community. We were looking at a tax savings. You know, you discussed the importance of community too. And with all due respect to Mr. Walpole, he talked about their opinions on the savings, how much savings it would bring. And my question is, in an election year, why are we not just asking the people that are paying those taxes? I mean, this can be put on a referendum instead of jumping through all these hoops for negotiations between the council and the county commission. Let's let the people decide. I mean, that's what I'm hearing everywhere I'm at. I mean, those people elected you guys. Those are your constituents. Why are we not asking the public? Let's put it to a vote. Get a referendum in November and let the people decide. They're the ones putting out the money. It's the money out of their pocket. If it's going to cost a little more, then we'll make that note in the referendum and say, hey, you know what? There's a chance we may have to charge a little more if we're going to keep this. But y'all decide if we're going to keep it or not. Let's ask the community. If you're really interested in helping the community, then let's ask the community about this instead of jumping through all these hoops to get an agreement before we even ask them. See if that's what they really want. That's just my suggestion.
Thank you very much. Okay, just 1 second, Josh, we'll let you go next. Give them a moment. You've had more time at the podium tonight than anybody else. Yeah. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it, by the way.
Mayor, Council, my name is Russ Kale. I spent in this city for 19 years in all of the city police department. I have worked for the city residents, the council that I work for. I've seen a lot of good.
If you
This case,
could speak up or
Yes. In this case, what we're doing here is trying to find a way to help the city residents. I live in the city limits. I appreciate that effort. However, every December, this city council, put the city employees in this fire department and called us family. I ask you each, which one of these fire department employees are your family members? Which one are you willing to let go? Which one is your husband, your brother, your father, your mother, whatever? It's family. So if we're family, why are we so quick to make judgments that affect these families? This young man here, very good idea. Let's slow down. we just listened to the audit. So very good report. It needs to slow down. We're affecting families. Not really thinking it through.
Thank you. Other comments from the public? Other comments? Here. If you'll state your name.
Karen Brown, city resident. I'll try to keep it a little short, because you've heard it all before, council. But I just can't hush about this. It's important. It's big. It's worth the time. It's worth the repetition. First, Mayor Allen has always been objective. Always, without fail. Whether it's a kid's soccer team, or an issue at church, or a meeting on the street corner. He's always been objective, and he's always kept this city first. He's always kept the common good first. I would trust him to negotiate any issue, and I hope that the council and the citizens both will reassess that if there's any doubt. Second, yes, the Economic Council report cites a heavy duplication of services that can be rented. We know that. We know how. We're already putting part of that mechanism into play, as Councilwoman Clark pointed out. So there's a cushion there for EMS services that's on the horizon, whether it's for us or whether it's for at a county level. So that's going to be a check mark, and it's a good one. The savings, if any, I'm a little bit of a doubting Thomas about it, aside from the first little take on this. It's going to come at a pretty extreme cost to the city residents and to the city fire department employees. And I too have said from the beginning, let's look at it. What is being proposed can be done at any point in the future, but we can't take it back once it's done. So please, let's make sure that we explored all the avenues before we go down the road. We can't come back down the road. I watched the commission meeting, and hiring all of our fire department employees was absolutely wrong. It's a negotiation, maybe that will change, but when I see a board say that we're not going there, it's a new point, then we can only get money after that when we chase it, something we've been told we can't have. So, I want to say, why proceed if we can't have that number one objective? And I'm going to echo what's been pointed out, and to me, it's the elephant in the room. The city has increased its financial position over this past year, increased it. We're not looking at a drain on assets by a department that's remained within their budget. Faithfully, we're not looking at a drain on assets by a department that's not at the top of the food chain for how much of the budget they're utilizing. And we are looking at a department that will become more financially feasible as we certify them and reduce this replication service. So I'm still, after what's going to be a year, asking myself, why are we fighting so hard for something that, again, I don't think the public's behind. From everything I'm hearing and seeing, with a very few exceptions, this should be our decision. The city residents, it should be our decision to make. If you're going to take our assets and give them away, granted, they're going to service us, but they're going to serve an awful lot of other people too. We work hard to pay for those assets, and you're going to give them away. There are a lot of things about the proposal on the table that rubs wrong for those of us that have the interest at the level the city residents have it. So please, continue to consider, continue to contemplate, and please step back and look at what your constituents want. Look at
not just for the sake of being, for being, you know, publicly accepted or for garnering another vote, but for being the representative of the city that you were elected to be, represent. Please. Thank you, thank you.
Here. Other comments from the room? A lot of people looking at me, but I don't see anybody raising their hand. It'll be back to us in just a second. Okay, that's, I guess we have no other comments from the room. Madam Host, do we have any comments from Zoom? Anyone that wants to speak through Zoom?
No, sir.
No. Okay, no chats?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments. I mean this sincerely. We appreciate everyone's thoughts. I certainly appreciate the matter which they were presenting. Shows a lot for our community. Okay, we'll bring it back up here for discussion. Council, we discussed some, but okay. Okay, council members, Clark.
I want to make a clarification because also one of the things that I have been saying and reporting is that the county was adamant that they did not want to go to referendum and that it had to be, if that was going to be a possibility, then that was the referendum had to come from both parties. If I'm not mistaken, did not our city clerk go over to check into doing a referendum, and we did not get a letter from our attorney that said that the attorney from the county specifically said the county is not interested in a referendum, that you're only interested in a contract.
Well, I think, if I may jump in, I think the reference to the referendum is for the fire tax. Because we have to have, to do it, and I think that's what they're opposed to, doing a referendum for the fire tax, which takes two referendums, one in the city, one in the unincorporated area of the county. And they weren't interested in that procedure.
Okay, well, I asked that specifically to the county administrator, and she said that it would take both to do, if they were gonna absorb the city fire department from the city, that it would have to be an agreement from the county residents and the city residents.
To do a fire tax.
Okay, well, we could. That wasn't clear in the memo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that was not.
That's
I mean, I could read that memo that was sent to me, and that is not what it said.
Okay.
So, I mean, if there's a question about what kind of referendum or, you know, but that is exactly what was said to me, and that's what I got in an email. And so I don't want people to keep saying to me that I don't know where they're getting this information from, when that came directly from the county attorney. Is that correct, Mr. Romero?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and also from the county administrator said it to me directly. Okay, so that's where the information came from. Because I said, we want to go to, I mean, if we want to go to referendum, let us go to referendum. How do you go to referendum when you don't know how much it's going to cost you as a city resident? If you go by, we had a professional do a fire assessment 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, they said it was going to cost the Glen Fire Department $440 per resident and 33 cents a square foot for businesses. It's right in the fire assessment 4 years ago. Okay, and so if you go to referendum, what do? You tell people in the city, well, your taxes might not go up, but you're going to pay a fire assessment, or this is what it's going to cost in the future. And you know, how do people decide whether they want it or not when it hits their pocketbook? And as a business, most business people, they can't vote because they have businesses in the city, and but a lot of people don't live in the city, so they don't vote.
But if we can't bring more businesses into the city because of our tax base, then we're the ones, we're in an island, guys, you know, there's only so much of us. And we have to pay those taxes to support what we're doing with the city. And every city employee wants a pay raise, it's not gonna go down, it's gonna go up. And yes, we didn't go into our reserves this year, but I'm telling you, the budget for this coming year, we're taking $1.2 million out of our reserves to make our budget. You can't do that every year and survive without raising taxes and bringing in more revenue. So I just wanted to.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think when you look at the fire study that the city did, that would be if we did a fire assessment just for the city.
Just for the city, that's correct.
If
We kept the city fire department and we did a fire assessment, that's what it was.
But if we did the other referendum in the county, with the county-wide fire tax, then I would assume that you would go by, that would, then the city resident would be paying the county fire assessment fee.
That's correct.
Yeah,
And
okay.
and county fire
Yeah.
assessment fee is $108 resident
So,
and 0.1 cent per square foot. So it's 3 times greater for business and
Yeah,
4
but-
times less for
Yeah,
residents.
so, but if we did the referendum, it wouldn't be at our fire study assessment, it would be at the county.
We're talking about 2 different things. Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to. Councilmember Gerald?
Yes, some of the comments you just made, you know, the whole thing started a year ago, only to cut the taxes and save money. You know, the gentleman, and I appreciate your comments, was talking about our financial condition. Every year, we have to pull money out of a savings account to balance our budget. You know, that savings account one day is gonna run out, and that's what we've been talking about. Yes, our financial department does a great job. The administrator's done a great job to keep us as close as we are. But every year, they pull money out of the savings to balance the budget. I don't have an issue with the mayor here. He and I are good friends, and I've told him many times, I think he does an excellent job for the city. He represents the city well. It just, I want him to, I can't make him do that, but I would like him to go in and open-minded and I'm for the group. I would like to see the 2 administrators, the county and the city. I'd like to see our mayor, and I'd like to see Terry Burrs on the other side. And was there somebody else we added? I don't know.
Well,
And our attorneys. Our
we're
2
going to
attorneys.
ask that
And I'd be glad to make that a motion if we're ready for that motion.
do we need, I'll ask, refer that to the attorney, do we need a motion to set up that task force or just by consensus?
No, we don't need a motion, Mr. Mayor. Again, just sort of clear the application of sunshine law. We have no authority, we're not delegating the authority, we're purely going to be a communication conduit.
So there won't be subject to sunshine.
I have another topic that's related to the.
Okay. Well, do we have a consensus then? I think we kind of have a consensus, that's what we want to do. So we'll instruct the administrator and attorney and the mayor, then we'll work with the county to try to see if they would agree to have the union rep. And we'll go from there. Councilman Rad, you had another comment?
Yes, in our last meeting, we said that the base pay service would be generated by the county resistant fire. That's how we would generate any portion of the base pay. I know we voted it down before, but they're in the county is in the middle of the assessment survey study now. If we brought in the city part of that study, and we were still gonna use this formula. They brought the city into the county and made it whole. I think it would bring that number down. Is that we got more property, it's more service, but I think in the end of the game, you would have a lesser assessment. I may be wrong. But if that is the case, for a small fee, what would we pay for the assessment study for just the city? For $8,500, would they maybe 10, right? But 8,500, I feel that is a very small amount to possibly bring our fee down if we use that formula for the city. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and I agree that if that's the way we want to do it. I don't know that the county is going to agree. That's one of our points we will have to negotiate. I don't know that they will agree. If you listen to the meeting, they were pretty adamant that that price was what, I think their price was less than what the fire assessment of their original.
We put a ceiling on it because they kept saying we didn't have to go to new buildings for equipment, and we have to pay 10%, and then we needed to do maintenance on the vehicles, and I know, but I'm just saying, there was no end to that number.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of the things we will.
In that discussion, if that you're open to that, I would say maybe you got a thought that let us get into that study for that number.
And I think the county, I'm trying to remember their study. I remember there was some discussion about the city participating in that study.
Right, that was the discussion, I think, early on, brought back to the council. I think the number is in the, it's an $8,000 to $9,000 range. That was
So we'll see, but I understand.
If they're open to that state structure, I feel that would be advantageous
For us to be in a study.
to be a part of it. And it may benefit the county also. So maybe a win for them. That's my point.
Others, Councilmember Keith?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. On that note, the county commission meeting, the administrator did their fire assessment study that's currently going, and she did mention about the city's portion being added. She expressed the cost and that it was within her purview of her purchase price authority, but the commission told her not to do it. I'm wondering why. I think I asked 2 weeks ago why we didn't do it previously when you had that discussion months ago at the commission and it brought up. Can we ask them, we're going to pay that, we are, can they have the city get those figures for county and city, county separate from city in that study starting? I asked for it, I wanted to do that months ago. I wish the administrator would have just said, done within his purchasing authority. So I say, I would like to ask staff to ask.
Can I make a comment about that? When we had that discussion, the whole reason we decided not to pay for it was because the county was adamant that they would not use the fire assessment for a way to collect money for the city fire department if we went together as a merger. They were not interested in using the fire assessment. They were very adamant about it. They did not want to use the fire assessment as a means of collecting money. They wanted it to be a subcontract with the city, that the city would pay the county out of the ad valorem taxes for that service. So I thought, why waste money for study that produced information that was not going to be used?
And I think if we can get them to agree to use that as a benchmark, then it'd be advantageous. I don't know that that's going to be, from what was said at the meeting, I don't know that that's going to be,
Which is very close to what you're doing.
it's actually, it's more and more. But, okay, so if that's agreeable, we'll just see how that negotiation goes, and we'll come back. further discussion or vote?
Yes, sir. Can I approach?
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry, but I just wanted to, reflect some of the statements that were made just a second ago, that's all.
Okay,
It only takes me 2 minutes.
okay, all right, briefly, Captain, you're kind of getting ready to wind this one up. So,
Yes, sir, sorry about that, sir. Lalo Rodriguez. I'd like to make a couple of comments real quick. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to clarify some issues. Thank you all, council, for taking the time to look into other options to explore to begin with. But Councilman McCarthy, you're saying that 1.2 billion that we're having to go into our reserves this fiscal year. I have it here. Can I approach the escrow, please? This is the 1.2 million that she's saying that we're possibly going to be using out of our capital projects and reserves, is the 1.233 million. So now previously, your comment, sir, was that we're having to go into our funds every year in order to stay sound. I pulled some information from the finance committee, and it says here in 2019, none of the budgeted reserves of $845,215 were utilized for the operational expenditures in the GF general fund. Nothing was used in 2019 at all. We didn't have to go into our reserves. That was right there. That was the capital project improvement fund. That's what I pulled, and that's from the finance right there. And then and that was 2019. In 2018, it says here again, none of the budgeted reserves of $573,000 were utilized for the operational expenditures in the general fund. We grabbed it in case we needed it, but we didn't need it. We never had to use it. So there was another savings right there. This is coming from finance. In 2017, none of the budget reserves of $751,000 were utilized for operational expenditures in the general funds. That's 2007. The only year that we had to go into our reserves was back in 15 and 16. We went in, it was projected that we were going to need $899,441. Only thing we pulled out of that money was $103,392. I'm sorry, $103,392 is what we pulled out. So for a total savings of 4 years by not going into our reserves, pulling the money, we saved the city residents $2,965,264 by not going into reserves. Now this 1.2 million, that's just projected that we're going to go into our reserves this fiscal year. That's not saying that we're going to go into it physically and pull that money. So that's why I just want to make a clarification. We don't need to get into an argument, because I don't have the figures in front of me, but our financial lady told us, because that was one of the things that we discussed, and I hate to disagree with you, but let them bring it to the next meeting, and I think you'll find out.
Yes, sir, no problem. But thank you for your time. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Captain, for the comments. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. With the motion to approve the extension of the landscape maintenance contract, Exhibit A. This was added to the agenda. You have that in front of you, and I think you have a memo from Public Works on this. So do we have a motion to extend? Do we have a second? Councilmember Gerald makes a motion. Councilmember Park makes a second. Do we have discussion, or City Administrator, do you want to
Just real briefly, we're trying to continue this. We have a new contract, a new RFP going out. The parties we can get back to it. Get out. The new one's a little bit more inclusive. This is just continued services while we have that time.
and this is due August the 4th, 2020, is that correct? It's under the same terms.
Yes.
Any other discussions?
I'll let you delay. We'll get an additional review. We have a bunch of services and there's been a little bit more discussion and changes in the scope. The next one actually has a lot more additional items.
a higher standard of service, I think, so we're required for the additional, for the new.
Okay, no further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Next, we'll move on to the Gary Ritter Council comments. Councilmember Abney. Councilmember Gerald.
No, I appreciate the meeting. I would hope that y'all would come to a conclusion fairly soon. We've drug it out a long time. And I would like not to hear this discussion again until you come back with a recommendation.
Okay. Councilmember.
I didn't promise you this.
No, I know you did.
Mr. Phipps, Mr. Kay, I appreciate you, and everybody else in the audience taking the time out. I appreciate your comments. One of my comments, I didn't speak a lot on the agenda item. Was quite reserved this evening. But in my mind, and the tax savings and all that, I grew up here in Okeechobee, and I'll be honest, I was one of those kids that never come back. I'm not a Walpole, I'm not a Woods, I'm not a Rawlinson. My family moved here from Massachusetts 40 years ago. So like I don't have anything agriculture. There was nothing here for me. I never imagined coming back to Okeechobee, but I did. I'm glad I did. I love this town, I love my hometown. But when I did return after almost 20 years, I said, man, nothing's changed except for a ton more churches and banks. So what's going on here? Nothing has changed. And I know we don't want to be, Palm Beach or Metropolis. I don't either. I like, our hometown. But what we can't be stagnant anymore and not grow to entice new businesses, new residents to improve our financial standing and ad valorem taxes. Services provided versus services that aren't provided. So the purpose of a local government, a municipality, I said this before, I think in the past, we incorporated to provide services a little over 100 years ago because we're part of St. Lucie County. Okay, we're here. So the city of Okeechobee was incorporated because they couldn't provide the services in a timely fashion that these citizens needed, i.e. fire, police, and public, the road department, all that. So in past 100 years, we've been providing services and we've grown. Same services I feel haven't grown to meet the needs that they should be. Case in point, the sidewalks. I live close to Fifth Avenue, Third Avenue that I walk down by the movie theater. And there's an oak tree that's growing up underneath our city sidewalk. My 92-year-old neighbor does walk in and helps me regularly. Y'all gotta fix that sidewalk. We can't even maintain our infrastructure. This is the intent of this council that we're trying to get to, and it looks like we're just horrible people, but we're just trying to provide a better quality of life, improve our city. Gotten again, entice more businesses and residents to move to the city. I have a good friend that a few years ago they're looking to build a new house, move into a bigger house rather, and they're looking at a place by Blue Heron, which is in the city limits. Took a look at the city taxes that the previous owner was paying, and he said absolutely not. Move to the county. Why? I asked him. What do I get for those city tax dollars that I have to pay in addition to the county tax dollars? In response to savings that Captain Rodriguez brought up about over the past few years, I mentioned that we didn't go into our savings. I would pose that a lot of the capital projects that might have been budgeted for were not completed. Before I was elected, I remember Mr. Gary Ritter thought about the Centennial Park. Like, I mean, before I was on this council, Centennial Park, when did that get the, you know, the drawing?
Centennial year, 2015.
2015, we had plans for the Centennial Park. Just since I've been on this council, you know, things been being built on there. So I feel that reasons, you know, that he announced, you know, savings on these capital expenditures, because those expenditures weren't done. We're not paying for the services that we need to be providing the citizens, i.e. our roads, repairing our roads. That's why I've been harboring for the past year for a maintenance plan for the paving, for the street striping. Go anywhere in our downtown business area, the striping is horrendous. I forget what road it is. There isn't striping. These are the things that are lacking that we should be providing. That's what we exist for, is to provide particular services to the citizens. We're elected every couple of years. There's an election for council members. And so we're elected to be a voice for 5,000 to 6,000 residents of the city. And we represent a great number of people. And I know not everybody's going to agree with us. Just like my mom always said, I can't please everybody. But we try our best.
Got a lot of money.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that was the final item on our agenda, so we are